So today we went to our local jetty and caught some sheepshead and put together a little tutorial on how we do it. I showed what kind of hooks we use, what kind of weight we use. We caught a few fish on the video. We got one keeper, and yeah, there's some other things that I didn't mention in the video, like baits. Normally I use fiddler crabs, but today I use live shrimp. You can use barnacles, clams, oysters, sand fleas. Any kind of crustacean will work. You just need a really good sharp J hook and as little weight as you can possibly use. See everything in the video. So this is the setup that I was using today. This is a little tsunami hook, just a J hook. They're pretty sharp. I think this is a 1/0. Have my fluorocarbon leader. My weight, I have it up away from the hook. It doesn't really matter where you have the weight, at least not where we fish. Like, you could have your split shot down at the bottom right above the hook. It doesn't matter that much. Some people say you want it to be like 12 inches up. I've never noticed a difference. Still catch big ones with it down low, but I do prefer to keep it up there, more realistic. I put one of these egg weights on earlier just so, I don't know, I was running low on split shots, but split shots were keeping it in place. I've got about 3 feet of leader. I like to start with like 3 feet of leader, 4 feet, and then it's pretty much inevitable you're gonna break off at some point. So I like to have a long leader so I don't have to retie the whole leader on. You know, usually it'll just break off at the hook or at the weights. You can get down to like a foot a leader and it doesn't really seem to matter that much. Our water's not that clear here, so that might be why. But this is the Alberta knot. And I used to use a swivel instead of this knot, but ever since I switched to this knot, you can feel the bite so much better and you get snagged up so much less often because, I mean, there's no swivel there. Now, another way I really like to fish for sheepshead is with a bottom sweeper. I think this is a 1/2 ounce bottom sweeper. I've seen them go up to like an ounce and a half, but you don't really need any weight when you're using one of these. I mean, if you absolutely need it, you could throw a split shot on or something, but I'm tying this on with a clinch knot. Yeah, you put your fiddler crab on this, and you can stick this through the bottom of the fiddler crab, and you want just a little bit of the hook exposed out of the top of it. And whenever it's on the bottom, it sits like this, so that's a good presentation for the fish. Another thing I do during the winter is freeze my fiddler crabs, because once it gets really cold, it's pretty hard to find them. So whenever I'm done fishing and I have some left over, I just freeze them, put them in a vacuum seal bag. Today we're walking out to the Murrells Inlet Jetty through Huntington Beach State Park in South Carolina. I'm going to show you how to catch some sheepshead. I'm using live shrimp as bait today. Usually I use fiddler crabs, but it's getting a little too cold at the bait shop for them to keep them there, so this will have to do. And we shouldn't have any issue hooking up on some, even if the bait is not ideal.
There's the jetty. It's about a 1.5 mile walk, but it's super worth it for the fishing.
Put that on. The shrimp was a little big, so I broke them in half. But you want to run your hook up through there, because they're really good at taking the bait off of the hook. So you want as much of that hook embedded in there as you can get. This will probably have to do for now. Spot I like. Right now what I'm doing, oh man, I just missed one. Right now what I'm doing is trying to figure out where the fish are, because they like to congregate in the little holes along these structures like jetties and stuff, and you just got to find the right spot and they'll be schooled up down there. Usually once you get on one, it seems like there's an infinite amount that come after that. That was my first bite in this spot. I'm gonna cast out in the same direction, let my bait drift right down on the face of those rocks, and I'm going to pull my bait up along the rocks and try not to get snagged, but you know, I just kind of want it to drift up against them so it's right at eye level with the fish, because they're feeding off of those rocks, eating barnacles and stuff.
You can see the barnacles on that rock right there.
So let's see if I get a bite right here.
If you do a Google search, the best time of year to catch them, it will say winter and spring, but that's not necessarily true because we catch them year-round here in South Carolina. On this time of year, I think that they are spawning. It says that around late February to early April they spawn near inshore structures when the water is around 70 degrees. They like to congregate around jetties like this one, and piers, pylons, oyster beds.
Maybe a good one. You ever record?
He just hooked up on one.
Oh, he is. That's a decent one too. Oh wow, can you get the net?
I'm getting the net. Here. Try not to lose tension when you're getting one in, or they
Nice one.
will come off very
That's a
quickly.
real nice one.
Definitely a keeper.
That's a nice. Oh wow. So right here, got one, I'd say probably 16 or 17 inches. Maybe a pound. He was barely hooked. You see what I mean about those teeth? They have like kind of human-like teeth and a very strong bone up there on both sides of their mouth. So in South Carolina they need to be 14 inches. This one is 16 on the dot, and it'll keep. Now they have big fat fillets on them too,
Hold 'em up.
especially at this size. Every inch makes a huge difference in the amount of meat that you get off of these fish. It's almost like they grow outward. I don't know, you can't get a lot off of a 14, but a 16, that's a meal right there. So these fish, kind of want to bleed them, you just make a little cut on the gills, and I like to kill them too.
Another reason to bleed it is so that the fillets stay nice and white. Alright, he's casting back out.
My split shots on the hook on the shrimp on. I'm going to cast it out there and let it sink, and then I'm just slowly going to kind of drag it back towards me over the rocks out there. They have a very light bite, so as soon as you feel that bite, that line get heavy, you got to be quick and set that hook hard. Now we didn't get it on video, but I just had a good bite there. Didn't amount to anything because I set the hook too late, but that's something that happens a lot when you fish on the Sheepshead. They are called convicts for a reason. It's very hard to get them on the hook, but he is a little to the left of this spot, so I'm probably not going to hook up on him.
Now, about how far off the rocks are you right now?
Currently far off. I like to put it way out there. Lost my bait, but I like to put it way out there and just bring it in, and you can use that to kind of gauge where they are, because they hang out in one spot and they'll stay there for a long time. And then once you figure out where they are, just cast over in that spot over and over again. And if you're not getting bites, you need to move.
We need to find a deep little hole. All day long we go up and down this jetty searching for the deepest holes, and that is usually where they're at. Right here there's a big hole, Alright, he just hooked up on one. Need the net?
Might keep two.
Might be a keeper. That's a nice one. Alright, so this one is 13 inches. So he is not a keeper in South Carolina. He has to be
close.
14 inches.
That would be a nice fish to keep. Now don't get mad at me for.
He just hooked up on another one.
Yep.
Yep.
12 3/4. Alright, filleting this fish now. I like to feel around up here for where the meat starts. Cut up there. It's kind of like a normal fish, but you know, there's some extra meat up there on its head. You want to get that. I'm not the best at this either. This is how I do it. Go down this bone. Follow the bone all the way down. Now that you have that cut started, that's the hard part because those scales are really tough. Just follow along the bone. Stay as close to the bone as you can. That way you get all the meat. So once you get to this point, these rib bones, there's really no meat down there, and the stomach's like right there, and that piece of meat's really bony. So I just cut up from that, and then I get right here where the ribs are, and I kind of just cut down. Just cut through that skin. Dulls your knife pretty bad. Okay. First fillet. There's some bones right here in this part. I always cut those out. They're right there. I just cut them out. I'm not worried about that. I'm not trying to eat that. Now, as you can see, this meat's really white. The reason it's so white is because we bled the fish out. You don't have to do it, but it'll definitely get rid of all that blood, and you'll have nicer fillets. Now I'm doing the same thing I just did on the other side to this side. Alright, now I'm just rinsing these fillets off. I'm about to remove the skin. Alright, now what I like to do to get it off of the skin is just press it down, ride that fillet knife down there. It's a lot easier when you have a sharper knife, but just keep your knife flat. Alright, I'm using this Dan O's seafood seasoning. I'm just gonna put some of that on. This is pretty good stuff. It's a lot better than Old Bay in my opinion. Now I'm putting some pepper on it. And I'll put some salt on it in a second. So I made a little sandwich with the sheep's head. It's pretty good. I just took a bite. And Our neighbor just dropped off this. She made some spaghetti with the deer I killed in the beginning of the season. So that's a nice surprise. And yeah, it's fire. Thanks for watching. We hope that you enjoyed the video, and we hope that you learned something from it. It was fun to put it together, and yeah, bye.